Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Three at the Back podcast, unlocking FPL success using stats, data, and expert analysis. I am your host, Darren, and as ever, joined by my good buddies, Scott and Paul. Boys, how you doing? You've been holding down the fort for the last couple of weeks. I've been MIA, watched the episodes back. Good job.
We've been keeping them under an hour, Darren. I think we've been successful.
No, you have not.
We have.
Not even close.
Just
not
about
even close.
Just ticked over an hour. The last one. I think we're.
Maybe the last one, but there was one like 2 weeks ago. I think you were like 1 hour 30 or whatever. It was way over.
Wow, there was a lot to talk about.
Just you two jabbering on.
It's all good though, wasn't it? Hour and 35 of quality entertainment though.
It was good. It was good. Very
good
informative.
Good to have you back, Darren. Good to have you back.
Cheers, mate. It's no coincidence that my team has turned a corner as well, being an active and listening participant rather than a host. I've been taking all of the advice on board and built my team. I even got praise from you, Paul, in the last episode for how well balanced my team was.
That shows you're listening.
Right, so we're going to be talking game week 24. We're going to go back, look at a few of the results for game week 23, of course, and then we're going to be looking into fixture swings, number of high-performing teams entering now into a purple patch of, let's call it like an easier run. But as we know in the Premier League, there's no such thing as an easy game. So we can only set up as best we possibly can in that situation. We will do game week 24 team reveals, and then we'll just talk through our decisions, especially as myself and Scott have activated the wild card.
Woo, woo, woo.
Woo, woo, woo.
Panic.
So yeah, panic. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to bring up the slides that Paul has put together for us, as he always does. We'll get into it. So the top 5 things that we're going to be talking about at this stage of the show is Carrick's Red Devils transformed, Manchester United ever resurgent under the new boss. Talking about that Chelsea fixture swing going into that run of quote easier games. Bournemouth overcoming Liverpool in a 5-goal thriller at the weekend. And Thomas Frank on the ropes at Spurs as they have continued to falter and look very uninspiring now for a consecutive number of weeks. And Haaland blanking again this weekend after starting on the bench. Is it a concern? 14, almost 15 million. Well, actually, it is over 15 million pounds as an asset. Is it maybe time to start considering a little bit of rotation or putting the money elsewhere in the team? Boys, first of all, Manchester United, 2 massive wins on the bounce. Carrick's at the wheel, is what they're saying.
2 good wins, 2 good performances. Beating City 2-0 was the performance, I think, was one of the best performances I've seen of any team this season. 2-0 could have been 4, really. They were dominant in that game. And then the Arsenal match, it was two contrasting styles. United were clinical with their finishing of the 3 shots on goal, but looked good. Arsenal sort of struggled to break them down. It was 2 seemingly good teams going head to head, and what a contrast Carrick being there for just the 2 games compared to Amarin's disastrous tenure. Let's talk about what we think Carrick's gone in and changed. It's not rocket science. He's put the players in their rightful positions, stopped messing around with crazy formations and asking them to do impossible tasks. Includes putting Bruno in the number 10, which we've been shouting out for probably 2 seasons. What's your take, Paul? What do you think is the difference that Carrick's getting out of them?
He's making them more organised. They're holding their lines better and then playing between the lines quicker, is what I noticed from both the two games he's taken charge of so far. And yeah, having the likes of Bruno in his rightful position where he doesn't have to kind of track back and kind of bust a gut to defend. Again, you're seeing him get the best out of him, will then get the best out of the other creative players around him because he is the catalyst to all that. He's the first player to get 10 assists so far this season, and he's created a whopping 64 chances.
Wow.
In the Premier League this year. He's nearly 20. He's over 20 above the person in second in Bukayo Saka.
Yeah.
So he is fundamental to how good they can be. And yeah, I think the returns, the African nation players returns, I think has been a timely return for them. Getting players back from with fitness. And yeah, I think at the moment they just look a bit more balanced.
Well, what I noticed is playing the flat four with Shaw and Darlow, and just the two centre halves, Martinez. I think he's a big player coming back, Martinez, and he's brought back Maguire, and played Dorgu and Ahmad in front of them, adds the legs. And what I've noticed with the two lads in midfield, the pivot, is that if you know the three at the back system like Palace play, the space is in between the edge of the centre halves, so in between the fullbacks and that. If you play a flat four, there is no gaps, so there is no extra coverage from those midfield pivots to have to track back and cover. So basically, it's covering like boxes, and it suits Casemiro and Mainu because they haven't the legs really to cover those extra yards. So therefore, they're not getting pulled out of position. So they like you said, they look more organised purely because he's not playing the three at the back system, and it suits. And Dorgu's been a revelation down that side. It's a shame that he's picked up what seems to be a quite a substantial hamstring injury. Interesting to see who he brings in. If he brings Cunha into that role, because I think Dorgu's been picked ahead of him for his defensive attributes to cover Shaw, because Shaw obviously hasn't got the ability to get up and down these days. So it'd be interesting to see if Cunha does come in to replace him in a like for like, or if he jigs it around and comes up with something else. But in Burmo playing up top, do you see that continuing, or do you think Sesko comes back in these two games? Do you think he maybe just picked those players for those specific two games?
Again, obviously hard to tell having such a small sample size, but I would suggest he probably fancies them in that particular roles. I think again, it's about balance. It's about what they do, I guess, off the ball to create that balance when they have the ball. So I think that's kind of what he's seeing right now. Not to say that he doesn't go to a big man up top in Sesko, but I think at the moment, if it's not broken, then don't tinker.
Sure.
I think the Mbeumo up top decision by Carrick as well is it just reinforces your point, Scott, about putting players in the position where they perform the best. And we saw what Mbeumo did as a number 9 for Brentford, particularly in periods of time where Wissa was unavailable, or Ivan Toney was unavailable. Mbeumo was always like the next guy, the next man up at number 9 for Brentford, and he always took those opportunities. And it was probably the ability to play number 9 for Brentford in those periods of times that earned him the Man United move in the first place. So I would be surprised if that didn't continue. But I also respect that, just like any other manager, I'm sure Carrick is under pressure from up top to use their most valuable assets. And you can't spend 70-80 million pound on a striker in the summer and then just immediately have him as surplus to requirements not more than 6 months later. Well,
to argue that, I think if you play the three at the back system, you need the big target man to hold the ball up, like Palace used Mateta. So Sesko fits that bill, which I think is why he was signed. If you're not playing the three at the back and you're not using a focal centre forward, you can play Mbeumo because he'll float around and complement Bruno, and they link up so well. So if he sticks to the 4 at the back system, I can see Sesko being benched more game weeks than not, and then Bomo keeping that role.
Yeah, agreed. And especially with moving Bruno into that 10 role as well, it removes a slot in the behind the striker, which again, up until Carrick took over, was filled by Cunha and Mbeumo with Sesko up top. But now Bruno's been moved forward. It's removed one of those slots in behind that striker area. So, yeah, it would be interesting to see what happens. Dorgu being injured will definitely force Carrick now make a change. Absolutely gutted that I did not capitalize on his 28 points over the last 3 game weeks. He was my 3rd sub every single time.
And now most managers are having him there, don't they?
Yeah. And now he's probably out for the rest of the season. Was it like 10 weeks or something they were saying?
10 weeks was the report. It seems a long time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's significant period of time. Well, look, let's see what happens with United over the next sort of 4 or 5 game weeks. But the signs are good so far. Apart from that,
all I'll add to that is that even under Amarin, United turned up for the big games.
That's the one caveat I would put, and that's why I haven't run out and got loads of Man United assets into my team as of yet.
Oh, I have.
Yeah,
I got proper carried away.
Because they do get up for the big games. It's how it'd be interesting to see how they play against Fulham this weekend.
This week,
I think that's
and then Tottenham the week after. So.
Yeah, they're probably the real litmus tests, I guess, for Man United and Carrick. See if they
Fulham in good form though. Fulham in good form. They should probably see Fulham as a big game in the grand scheme of things. Really,
I think it's teams that come to United and take them on. I think this system really works with that pace they have out wide. Teams that sit in the low block, I think United have struggled to break them down. So yeah, it'd be interesting.
It's the first time Arsenal have conceded 3 goals in the Premier League in 83 games.
Yeah.
Wow.
Since Luton
in 2023.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But on the stats, United only created 0.71 XG, which is bang on Arsenal's average XG to concede. So they did nothing special, just were very clinical with the chances.
They were clinical and Arsenal was sloppy. I think that was the main thing. I think their game plan worked with regards to stopping us from playing, and Arsenal was sloppy, and that we got punished for it.
Yeah, well, that first goal was not the first time we've seen Arsenal do something like that. I remember Gabriel doing it a few weeks back.
It was unnecessary as well, because we were in control. As soon as we went 1-0 up, we were in absolute control, and then to gift them a way back into the game. And that, for me, that's what changed the game, because Arsenal got completely nervous from conceding that goal and then never recovered.
Yeah, it's probably at the back of their minds as well that what Man United did to City just a week earlier as well, and just the uptick in performance.
Well, they knew obviously the crowd would be up for it, the Man United fans would be up for it, Man United players were up for it. You could tell how they were flying into challenges.
Do you think if City had, like, if it was the reverse, if City had dominated them in that derby and run out as winners as many people expected them to, that the Arsenal players would have been as nervous after conceding that equaliser? They would have surely have had confidence that they could have still won the game, surely.
I don't know, because we outside of the last few weeks in the Premier League, we've been pretty solid form. So it's just, it's a bit out of the blue, really, a bit uncharacteristic. It's kind of old Arsenal, really, of how they behaved. It's how they behaved to go 1-0 up. They went 1-0 up and kind of sat back and panicked a little bit when they didn't have to. They could have just stepped forward and controlled the game. And if we'd have gone 1-0 up at half time, I have no doubt we'd have held on. But
yeah, fair enough.
4 points.
Chelsea fixture swing kicked off for many people, even though it wasn't technically as part of this new purple patch. But I think Palace's form has nosedived over recent weeks. So I think many people were probably looking at Chelsea going into this game thinking that their assets are ones to bring in for game week 23, let alone game week 24 and beyond. Scott, I know you don't like talking about Palace at a time when they've lost and been beaten heavily, but there's also a lot more going on at Palace as well that I'm sure you could probably do a whole episode on.
Can we not?
No, but Chelsea's fixture swing in general, as I said, getting off to a good start with that 3-1 win. The biggest news coming out of that fixture specifically, Palmer not in the squad. And I saw today that potentially linked with a move to Manchester United. I guess that's paper talk, but there's no smoke without fire. I'm guessing his name's being bounced around in markets and in posh bars by agents as someone that maybe could be tempted to move this summer, but I can't see it personally.
No, I also read that Adam Autumn, they were sniffing around him for 100 million and were willing to pay it. If they want to pay that sort of money, they can have him right now. I will drive him around there myself, drop him off. I mean, the Chelsea game, Chelsea don't look that inspiring. You watch the United game, there's sparks and signs of improvement, and they got energy and that. You watch that Chelsea side. I mean, it was a very even game until we just imploded twice and conceded two very, very, very poor goals. Up until that point, we were probably the better team. Should have been one up. Mateta's 1-on-1 should have buried it.
Yep.
Story of our season with him.
Again,
if Nottingham Forest want to stump up 40 mil, they can have him. I'll even do it for free. How about that? I'll stump the fuel up myself. And Chelsea, I mean, they're in that sort of conversation for European spaces. They're not in the title race. I think it's a 3-horse race. If you look at the league, even Villa, only 4 points behind, seem to run a consistent run of results from them. Chelsea, there's something about them that is inconsistent. I can't quite work out what it is. But they tick over. They got a quality squad, so they'll win more than they don't. It was a funny old game. I mean, did you watch the game, Paulie?
Yeah. I caught the highlights. Similar to your feedback there. To be honest, Chelsea kind of huffed and puffed, and you were kind of keeping them at bay, and then that silly stray kind of pass back or whatever he was trying to do. I don't know.
Well, I can understand why we completely emptied our own half. I mean, where was everyone?
Yeah, just got punished, and and then obviously they got the penalty. Chelsea looked lively without ever looking threatening, and that's what I find with watching Chelsea. They've got all these busy players and very creative players, but they kind of just play around the box.
Yeah,
they haven't really got someone to put it away. But saying that, João Pedro is starting to find his feet. Obviously, Rosenius clearly likes him within his style of attack, which is that quick, I guess, similar to what Man United are trying to do with that quick kind of counter-attacking style of football. So I think he looks like a dead cert to be in that lineup for the near future. And again, I like the look of Esteval, but again, not kind of guaranteed minutes from an FPL sense. But he's got eight goal contributions so far this season for Chelsea in all competitions, and that's the most from any teenager across Europe. So
wow.
He's a serious talent.
Do you think if Palmer's going to be out, if Palmer's going to be sort of in and out injury-wise, Esteval surely gets more game time?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. It'd be good for Chelsea to come out and give, I guess, their fans probably a bit more of insight of actually what, because this injury seems to be ongoing.
Mm-hmm. It's quite concerning, isn't it?
So it is a little bit concerning. So Man United might not be wanting to write their big checks just yet. I would probably guarantee that he will be a long-term starter if we kind of knew what the injury situation with Palmer is, because it would definitely be him, Enzo, and obviously they seem to like Neto as well on the other side. With João Pedro up front. I think that again, that seems to be a nice balance. It's a quick. Enzo's having the time of his life this season, really playing higher up the pitch. So, yeah, I think it's a good time to keep an eye on Chelsea assets for sure.
Do you not see Delap taking minutes off João Pedro at some point?
Possibly, but the way he's got the way they're playing, I think João Pedro probably suits Rossini's style more. Delap is more of an old school, put yourself about kind of striker.
Yeah,
which he hasn't quite got the, I guess, finesse that Rossini looks to want to try and achieve, I guess, for Chelsea so far, anyway.
And do you want to touch on that penalty that you mentioned?
Yeah, the reason being for me is I understand why it's given. I'm not that naive to really dispute it too much, but it's more that what's the player supposed to do? It's not like he's tried to handle it. He hasn't tried to handle it. His arm's by his side. What's he supposed to do? It's not intentional. And that's why he didn't. Apparently, that's why he didn't get sent off, because it wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
The fact that you can get penalties for accidental handballs now, like handball used to be, you're trying to do it to gain an advantage in some way, shape, or form. And then I think there's so many different interpretations of what's a handball, what isn't a handball. It's really hard to, as a fan, me personally, to get my head around whether I know it's got to be given as handball or not. For example, the Arsenal one against Forest, because it hit his shoulder when he controlled it, apparently his arm moved in a natural way, which we all know by social media comments was absolute nonsense. He was trying to stop a corner. So, I just look at these and go, I'm now struggling to interpret what's handball, what isn't. Even if it is accidental, it can be given against you. What's natural positioning, what isn't. All these terminologies are now being thrown around by VAR and the PGMOL. I don't know where I'm coming or going. And I think that's the problem. There's so many open interpretations to it. They need to shrink it down and make it, this is definitively handball, this is definitively not. Because at the moment, I don't think no one knows where they stand.
Well, I sort of disagree a little bit. I think we're probably in a clearer state this season with it than we have been for a couple of seasons. Because they seem to not want to give it, which I think is the positive. So if it hits your arm, and in that phase of play, it's deemed a natural position, i.e. for balance, or like in the Arsenal game when Maguire went to ground and saved it. I mean, his arm's in a natural position to stop himself on the ground. A few years ago, that had been given, and everyone's up in arms because everyone knows he's not trying to stop the ball with his hand. I think the Palace one was purely because it was going in, and there was no debate that it was going in. So whether it was deemed accidental or on purpose, the fact that he was 6 yards out and the keeper's out of the equation, that's why it's given. There was another one, I think, in the same game. Lacroix hit one from a corner, and it hit Cucurella. Very similar, but there was bodies behind. So although the shot was on target, you couldn't categorically say it was going in. So then it's not given. So in my understanding of it, it works, because I think it's such a hard thing to call and get right consistently. And I think there's been more good calls on it this season than we've seen previous.
I think it's too loose. It's too loose.
I think the only thing that needs to tighten up is that it's a proximity rule. When they say he was too close, I've not seen or heard what that distance is. Whether it's 3 yards, 6 yards, 20 yards, I don't know what that is. What close proximity actually means in that regard.
It's another layer of interpretation, isn't it? Because if you're 10 yards away and someone's walloped the ball at you at 100 miles an hour, then you could argue that he was too close. But if it's 3-4 yards away and it's trickling along the floor, then you go, oh, he's got plenty of time to move his hand out of the way, so you're going to give it. So I think it's another layer of complexity and interpretation. And I think you're right, Scott. I think we've seen more good calls than bad calls, but also where Paul has rightly mentioned is that because it's so open to interpretation, any different referee on any different day
Cool.
and whoever's sat up at Stockley Park will make a decision on whether or not it is or it isn't, or look at the screen, don't look at the screen. We're going to review it. We're not going to review it. Like it's just like it should just be black and white, clear as day. It was handball. Blow your whistle, off you go. Like, and then we just get on with it. Just to come on and wrap up on this bit, because it's something that I always like to kind of throw into the conversation when it comes to handball. Is the greatest irony is that to avoid being called for handball, your hands have to be in the most unnatural position for it to be a quote in a natural position to avoid. Do you know what I mean? It's just like nobody runs with their hands tied behind their back, and then you would call that their hands being in a natural position.
But that's why they brought that wording in, isn't it, to stop that hands behind your back defending, because they knew back in those seasons that if the ball struck you on the hand, it was going to be given. So you're hiding your hand. So they introduced that natural position wording to stop people doing that, because it looked stupid and it was unnecessary. I think the calls on it may be a little confusing from time to time, but I think they're slowly getting there, because I think the rhetoric is they don't want to give any penalties for handball, seemingly, because it's below. Otherwise, you'd be getting sort of 2 a game. Because there is situations in virtually every single game that I see that could be given under the old premise. I think we just got to get on board with the new wording, and I think 80% have probably been correct this season.
Yeah, fair enough. Just going to finish up on the Chelsea piece there. We mentioned Esteval, potential minutes risk, and but also one of the kind of like standout teenagers in European football right now. 6.4 million. He has or is currently outscoring Cole Palmer by 7 points across the season. Obviously, injuries to Palmer permitting, but it's a £4.5 million saving on Palmer as an asset. And you rightly mentioned there, Scott, that Rossinia's attacking style relies on fast, pacey players, and Pedro and Esteval could definitely be central to that. I'd love to see Esteval play more minutes and more football. I think every time I've seen him, he's always capable of doing something really exciting. And at 6.4 million, I think that's 9 price rises throughout the season that he's had.
I'll just run up there with a quick run through of their upcoming fixtures, because me and Paul went over it the other week about who their best 3 assets are. I think they've got such a fixture pile up coming that rotation is going to be inevitable. So if you're missing key players like Palmer, those other assets come in and out probably from one game to the other. So they got Napoli tomorrow. Then on Saturday they play West Ham. Then Tuesday they play Arsenal in the second leg for the EFL semi. Then the following Saturday it's Wolves. Then on the Tuesday it's Leeds. Then they play Hull on the Friday. It's mad. It's like 3 games in 7 days for 3 weeks straight. So rotation will happen. So if you go in Chelsea, if you wildcard in this week because of the Chelsea swing, just a word of warning on that fixture pile up and the possibilities of rotation.
And are there any guaranteed 90-minute men for Chelsea for you right now that we should be looking at? I think I imagine Chalobah's probably up there.
I think the only one we touched on before was Enzo, but he will get benched eventually because he can't play all games. So I guess you're hoping that Palmer comes in and plays maybe the cup games, to give him a rest, or James comes in and plays the midfield role and Gusto plays right back or something like that, just to give him a cup game off. But yeah, it's a heavy fixture load, and Chelsea got to win their Champions League game to guarantee a top 8 finish to avoid the playoffs. So it's a big game for them tomorrow.
Yeah, fair enough. Bournemouth in cracking form at the moment, highlighted by a 3-2 win over Liverpool. Although, I want to give Bournemouth their flowers and their credit, but we know that Liverpool have struggled considerably this year with form and several inconsistencies. But a great game for the neutral to watch, much like the United Arsenal game. And yeah, Bournemouth coming out 3-2 winners. They're on the up and up, and Evan Nelson and Krupi Jr. and players such as that seem to be kind of central to that as well. Again, players that maybe many of us don't actually have in our FPL squads right now.
Well, they got a long injury list. Your Brooks, Adams, Tavernier, Clivert, just 4 top players missing. Throw in the sale of Semenyo a few weeks ago, and they come on and perform like they do with their backup players, which is testament to their recruitment and Iriola's management and setup and motivation and that. Give them all the credit. If we went over Liverpool again, it's the same old story this season. So inconsistent, so powder puff at the back, wide open. They looked vulnerable every time Bournemouth come forward, and pretty much devoid of creating stuff the other end. And it's concerning. If you're a Liverpool fan, it's concerning. I heard rumours that Slot could be on thin ice. I know we're going to touch on Frank next, but I think Slot could be first up.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. They're really struggling. When their star player Van Dijk has one of the worst games I think I've ever seen him play. To be honest, he was almost at fault for nearly all the goals. It was pretty shambolic. That they've conceded 3 90-plus minute winning goals this season, and that's the most that they've ever done in the Premier League. So they are really struggling to even see out games.
I mean, that's a concern, isn't it? Because usually, if you're champions or would-be champions, they're the moments that you're the best at, that you're the strongest at. Is closing games out, isn't it? Not letting teams back in. And Liverpool have done it consistently. So it's a worrying trend.
I think the surprise for me is their team hasn't changed. Their team, it's not like their team's got massively worse year on year. So it's really, I can't really understand what's the cause of this drop off. Obviously, they've spent a lot in the summer and they bought a lot of attacking assets, and they really haven't kind of had a chance to really bed in properly. But other than that, as a football fan, I can't think to myself, it's because of this, it's because of that. I have no idea.
I mean, there was a lot of voices suggesting, certainly prior to Christmas, that maybe they asked, a lot of them as a group of players are definitely feeling the loss of Diego Jota in the summer. They've had no time really to adjust and kind of process that, I guess. Losing someone that was quite clearly a massive part of that dressing room is it's going to definitely weigh heavy on the minds, and the psychological side of high performance shouldn't be underestimated in that sense. It's all very well saying that these guys are superb athletes and they're super fit and everything else, and that they are, but you get kind of one bad day in your mind, and it doesn't matter if you're super fit, athletic. You're not going to be your 100% best performer. It's an interesting side of the game that I don't think many people fully appreciate necessarily.
It probably plays a part. I'm not sure how you equate that.
Yeah, no, you can't really, because everybody would deal with something like that very differently. I'm sure there are players within that Liverpool squad that are performing at 100%, and they've put it at the back of their mind, and they've gone, I'll sort that out and process that at another time in my life, career, whatever. I just think that because of the way that it happened right at the end of the summer, you're going straight into pre-season, that whole group of players have not, they've gone from something quite traumatic, like mentally, and then going into a really long period of time of high performance where you've got to constantly be switched on. It must be so tough. that's literally the only thing, like as Paul said, like there's not much else that you can really kind of attribute it to, because it's the same group of players. In fact, if anything, they've improved the squad with Wirtz and Isak on paper in terms of, you know, those attacking talents coming in. Yeah, it's just very odd.
If you remember the first 4 or 5 games of the season, they were winning with last minute goals, weren't they? And we said then that was quite a worrying sign, because that's not sustainable. And now it's gone the other way. Now they're conceding last minute to lose games. It's a bad sign. It means that you're not switched on, you're not concentrated, or you're in games where you're chasing games, like in this one, it was 2-2. They're chasing games. They conceded 2.35 xG against a depleted Bournemouth side, which is huge, and only created 0.93 themselves. You know, it's worrying situation for Liverpool fans. No Ekitike, didn't understand that whatsoever, especially as I've owned him. Yep, for the last 5 weeks. Didn't understand the formation. It was a 4-2-2-2 formation. Didn't get it. Trying too many clever things, and it's not working.
Yeah. Well, as you rightly mentioned, Slot will definitely be feeling the pressure, which is kind of mad to think about. That's a manager that won the Premier League title in his debut season, and now we're talking sort of 8 months later about him potentially getting the boot.
It's funny because their European games in the Champions League, they've looked a different team. They've looked solid, really solid at the back, and it's taken some good teams to task in that competition. You get them back in the Premier League, and they dissolve. Maybe it's the intensity, the 95-minute from start to finish, go that catches them out. Maybe
potentially. I mean, we've said that for a long time, that the Premier League is one of those leagues where, you know, the intensity is incredible. I don't know that there is any other league in the world where it's, you know, first whistle to the last whistle.
Championship, the closest one to it.
Actually, no, you're right. Actually, I would probably agree. But it's first whistle to the last whistle. It is intense, and it is sprints, you know, for 90, 95 minutes. Talks of Xabi Alonso potentially coming in. They're talking about maybe trying to get it done in, like, you know, before the end of the season, and you know, obviously that would spell the end for Slot. But
I personally wouldn't want him to go. On the back of what he achieved last year, it was something quite phenomenal. Spent no money and dominated the league from start to finish. I guess this season, I think I mentioned it before, reminds me very much of Klopp's last year. So you can almost erase last season as an anomaly, and this is just a continuation from Klopp's last season, where they had defensive problems and they couldn't score and that. So I wouldn't like Slot to lose his job. Not what he achieved last season. That was something phenomenal. And like I say, they're in the Champions League. I think they've qualified already for the next stages. Yeah, it'd be an odd decision to get rid of him, even with Xabi Alonso out of work at the time being.
Another manager that's on the ropes, as Paul's rightly put there, Thomas Frank. You know, it was all going so well up until around about game week 5, and then we've had basically 19 consecutive game weeks where it has not clicked at all for Thomas Frank at Spurs. You know, they've picked up the odd win here and there, and they've looked decent in phases. But then you look at results like 2-2 against Burnley, and I think Wolves up until recently, Wolves was the only other team that they dropped points to. So they're dropping points to teams in and around the relegation battle, and they you know, again, finding themselves down in and around that table themselves. So not much improvement from where Ange left them at the back end of last season in many respects.
I'd say very little improvement, really. 23 games in the season, virtually no improvement. I think the only improvement is that the European exploits have been pretty good, and they're in the shake up for a top 8 finish as well. The game last week against Dortmund was a win-win for Frank. The writing was on the wall. If they lost that game, he definitely would have gone. I think there's no comeback for him, to be honest. I think the writing's there. I think the board have probably made up their mind. They're just waiting for the right moment to pull that trigger. All the chit chat to get someone else in is probably going on right now, which is a shame because I like Thomas Frank as an individual. He comes across as a very, very nice fella. I think Paul's mentioned it before that he feels that the job's probably a bit too big for him. I just feel that his style of play is just not suited to what Spurs want. They demand a certain style. Ange gave them that style, and it got them nowhere apart from winning the conference, the Europa League. I think Thomas Frank just hasn't connected with the fans, which will see him depart, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's 1 win in 8 Premier League games. And they seem to be the team that if you're on a winless run, you want to go visit because they'll roll over for you. Forest was struggling, went there, smashed them 3-0. Yeah. West Ham beat them the other week.
Yeah.
They're, Burnley struggling.
Well, if it wasn't for a 94th minute equaliser.
Their centre-backs again.
Yeah.
Their 2 centre-backs have got 13 goals across all competitions. They're their 2 top goal scorers this year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it shows. I know they've got injury problems again. Small violin because I think every team has injuries.
Well, yeah, exactly. Name a team that hasn't.
So I think they've just had to deal with it. But yeah, I think, like you say, stylistically, not only are they losing games, they're not even attacking. They're creating no XG whatsoever. They're relying on their 2 centre halves to bail them out with cracking goals from set pieces. And for them, I guess it's just not good enough. And yeah, the results aren't. If they were getting 1-0 wins, I think he would get away with it. And it's only that European form that's bailing them out because they can't sack him if he gets if he wins in the Champions League.
Was it interesting stat from that game? I owned Dubravka and I played him because obviously they're playing Tottenham. He made 9 saves in that game for a combined XGC of 0.78. So he must have been the furthest and poorest shots you're ever going to see. My nan could have saved half of them. But I'll take the save points nonetheless.
Yeah. Tick.
Yeah. I will propose the question to you, Scott. You said that Frank's the Spurs job is probably a bit too big for Frank. Obviously, we know that the success that he had with Brentford and obviously that style of operation there. Glasner to Spurs, Frank to Palace. Would you sanction that? Would you see Thomas Frank at Palace as a positive switch?
Well, he likes to play a certain way, and it's almost paint by numbers the way he plays. It's create big chances. You look at centre forwards he's had over the years, Ivan Toney and Mbeumo and players. Big chances is what he's all about, and it's about playing to create those big chances. But it's slow, it's quite methodical, it's not good on the eye. So I don't think he'd fit our way of playing either. So no, thank you. If that's the deal, no. If Glasner goes to Spurs, then at least they get the football that the fans want. It'll give them that exciting attacking football, for sure. But I think Glasner is going back to Germany, for what I understand. But yeah, nice idea.
Interesting. Fair enough. Last point on this slide then. Haaland blanked this weekend. It's a string of blank performances now for him. Started on the bench. I saw social media kind of erupt with, people have benched him or people have taken him out. Like they must have insiders and they're cheating and everything else like that. And it's like, where are you finding this information? was like, well, Pep literally said it on Tuesday before they went and played Boda. He's knackered. He's absolutely knackered, and you could see it. You could see it in that Boda game as well.
Why
the team league?
Bodo Glimt? What's Pep doing? Why is he playing him every single minute of every single game?
He played him against Exeter as well.
Like,
oh, Jesus Christ!
Why? Well, I know you want to win everything you're in, but they must have players that they can play up top. Can they play Foden as a false 9? And it's just, it's crazy.
Well,
one goal
was carnage.
It is for him in the Premier League.
1 in 7, yeah.
Which is pretty mad, right? For his standards, anyway.
Well, I got a list of his XGs. He created no XG coming off the bench against Wolves. I mean, and you're looking at a plum fixture there from an FPL point of view. It's Man City, it's Haaland, the goal machine, playing the worst team in the league, and he's benched. I mean, it caused carnage, by the way. So 10 minutes before deadline, the City team leak is leaked by someone at City. The Foden and Haaland are benched, and it causes carnage because people are like, what do I do? Who do I captain now? Because everyone's on Haaland. Do I bench him? Do I play him? Does he come off the bench? Who knows? It causes absolute chaos. Yeah, so his XG, 0.13 against United. He scored against Brighton, 1.53, then it's 0.4 against Chelsea, 0.7 against Sunderland, 0.17 against Forest. I mean, it's dried up. 0.84 across the season, and in the last 7 games, it's 0.49, so almost halved. So something's going on. It's either himself being tired and not making the runs, or having the energy to, which I find hard to believe because he's ultra fit and the way he plays, he's not like all action, is he? He's just walking half the time. Or it's the way City is set up. That they're not looking to him all the time, because Pep has moaned as well about other players having to contribute in the goals. And we've seen Foden step up. We've seen Semenyo join and score 3 goals. So maybe the load's been taken off Haaland in that regard. And maybe teams are sussing him out, working a system to shut him out. Not sure. City, again, highly inconsistent, aren't they? One good performance, one poor one good, one poor one. Yeah. The title running is going to be interesting. If Arsenal just hold their nerve, that they'll win it by default, which is being the most consistent, because all the other teams are going to implode at some point.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But yeah, one last thing from an FPL sense for this week is there's been 6 consecutive weeks now where the average score has been below 50.
Yeah,
so it's
tell
been
me about it.
Going from an FPL sense. So yeah, anyone who's playing it, I feel your pain.
I've been below that average all 6 of those weeks. Yeah, my team on paper looked phenomenal. I couldn't believe I've had Foden, Harden, in Burmo before he went away, Fernandes before he got injured, double Arsenal defence. I mean, on paper, my team has been phenomenal. I've been below the global average for 6 weeks straight. It's players like Darren, Paul. It's his fault because he picks all these left field picks that are playing off. Exactly.
Not for the last 3 weeks. I haven't. I've had a very nice balanced, almost template squad for the last 3 weeks. Not that it's done me any good, because, as you said, it's all these little 1%ers that are banging in the goals.
Well, it's players like Harry Wilson. If you haven't jumped on him, he's scoring goals almost weekly from almost no XG. Yeah. So he's following the data. Players like him are completely tearing up the rule book, and I've got to learn to get on board these players before they ruin my season, I think.
Yeah, I've had Harry Wilson for 5 or 6 weeks. It's been well documented that I've been on Bruno G pretty much most of the season. I've been on.
He's been the worst one, overperforming the XG. Bruno Guimaraes has been the catalyst. So if you're getting on board with him and Wilson and others, yeah, I just can't read the game anymore. You either follow the data, because even when you watch players like Harry Wilson, they're not involved, and he's scoring from 30 yards. You're like, well, how can you read that?
Yeah. It's got to trust your gut sometimes. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's been interesting because I've moved more towards that kind of like on paper solid team, getting the balance. And over the last 3 weeks, I've probably scored below the average more often than what I had done when I was playing around with the likes of Lucas Paquetá and Bruno Guimaraes and no Arsenal defense, and I was still scoring kind of like getting like 60 70 point weeks. Should have listened to my own gut more. Right, let's crack on, and we'll get into some assets to look at for the fixture swing, and then we'll show you our squads for game week 24 and round out the episode. So, as we have mentioned, there are a few key fixture swings for teams across the next few weeks. We discussed, or Paul and Scott discussed, Chelsea in depth last episode. So if you want to kind of get more solid advice on those guys, go back and watch the episode from last Tuesday where they go a bit more in depth. This week we'll be covering the fixture swings for Bournemouth, Palace, Arsenal, and Villa. And just doing a bit more of a deep dive on those United assets, being that they seem to be resurgent, although yet to kind of really receive the litmus test of consistency. Let's get into Bournemouth real quick. We did just cover them a little bit in that last section there with the win over Liverpool. We covered the likes of Evan Nelson, Senesi being a DEFCON beast. They have got their share of injuries, but it also means that other players are getting chances and minutes where they probably wouldn't have done before. So likes of Truffert and Krupi Jr. Have stepped in and scored some big points as well. Wolves up next. Plum fixture for an informed side. They've also got West Ham and Sunderland in that next run of 6 games, mixed in with Villa, Everton and Brentford, which I think probably would be a bit more of let's call it a 50-50 fixture on those 3. Are we backing Bournemouth assets going forward? I know I am. I'll show you my team at the end of the episode, but what are your guys' thoughts?
Definitely from an attacking perspective, looking at those fixtures, they've been a bit leaky at the back, conceding lots of XG, Bournemouth. But you're right, the fixtures do turn very nice. Senesi is, if you're on a wild card, is probably a no-brain pick, I'd say, in that back line. But you also got the likes of Jimenez, who scored at the weekend. He seems to have nailed that position. He's playing a bit further forward as well. And Krupi, as you said, seems to get minutes. They did sign, is it Ryan?
Yes.
Gone over the line today?
A Vasco striker.
Yeah. Might take him a few weeks to integrate, but will probably take minutes off Krupi, I would say, moving forward. Just one thing very quickly about the wild card. It's going to be very popular this week. Just have in mind that the teams that play the EFL Cup final in game week 31 will obviously blank in 31, which is the other big wildcard week, which would be 32, which I think a lot of people are looking at. So if you're wildcard now, just have that in the back of your mind that the teams like Arsenal, Man City in particular, because they have the advantage in the first legs, will blank in that week. So don't load up too much, or at least have a plan to remove them as you move on.
Yeah, good shout. Palace fixtures for the next few weeks looking pretty decent, but the as we've mentioned, the Palace form over the last sort of 6 or 7 game weeks, there's no guarantees in there necessarily. I mean, again, you could probably look at that Burnley Wolves double up and hope that Palace might be able to get some good points out of that.
So we've had no wins in 11. That includes the FA Cup exit to Macclesfield. So I look at those 6 and go, well, they're all Premier League teams. There's no Macclesfield in that list. And the Burnley Wolves doubleheader, you're right to point out, but in between both of those is our conference playoff games. So we play on a Sunday against Burnley, then Thursday we have to fly to Bosnia. to play Wolves in on the following Sunday. Then the following Thursday, we're at home in the second leg of that. So it looks good on paper, like those Burnley Wolves double header, but there is games in between that, important games too. So rotation in a small squad again. Yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't be backing Palace players. Munoz would be the only player I would look to bring in, but he's just back from a long-term injury. Looked a bit short of his normal energy against Chelsea. But yeah, I guess wait and see. See if that form returns.
You're not feeling more positive now the likes of SARS come back from AFCON and
A little bit.
Get some fluidity back in that attacking lineup.
Yeah, the performance against Chelsea for 60 minutes I thought was decent. There's something lacking in that team. A bit of belief, bit of confidence. There's something not quite right. But I'm sure. I mean, it's the uncertainty, isn't it? I mean, everyone knows that the manager's now leaving. There's rumours every day that players are leaving. I'm not quite sure they're true, but it's just that uncertainty that's being caused by everything that's going on. Can't help. So I would just stay off Palace just for the time being, just until you see hints of that form coming back.
Nice. Arsenal, Paul got Leeds, Sunderland in the next two. Potential for a Brentford Wolves double game week in game week 26 as well. I guess that's.
Let me ask you, where did you hear that from?
Oh, I've got eyes and ears everywhere, mate.
It's good. It shows you you're paying attention for once. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm assuming that that Wolves would have been your game week 31 fixture, right? And they've just brought it forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that little run of fixtures there? There's maybe a little bit of trouble in and around the Chelsea game. Brighton could always be capable of causing an upset as well, but that first four, Brentford actually with Igor on form as well.
Oh, and Sunderland gave him a bit of a beating it as well. So nothing's a given in this league, is it?
Well, that's true. But if you're gonna maintain top of the table,
I think you have to win these games.
Agreed.
I think they got to dust themselves off with the disappointment of the last couple of games performances and start putting the ball in the back of the net. And I think they have to start with Leeds. I think, again, if you're looking at Arsenal assets, Gabriel and Rice are the obvious selections. Again, threat from set pieces, clean sheets. I'd expect some of them to happen in some of those games. Rice, again, takes all the set pieces and it's been a bit of a assist demon, to be honest. So, I think, I'll be confident that we bounce back.
Yep. Saliba and Timber not gone with the squad for tomorrow night's trip abroad. Should we read anything into that, or is it just a game off?
Game off. We're obviously already through.
Mm-hmm.
We've guaranteed top two.
Yep.
So we could put the kids out realistically tomorrow. So I think he's just given certain players additional rest. You've had either a lot of minutes and I expect fairly heavy rotation tomorrow, as it's pretty meaningless for us.
Yeah.
So for those that building the wildcard draft with, I'm looking at triple Arsenal defence, by the way.
Oh, he's back. He's back on the triple Arsenal D.
Jesus.
Well, look, I'm following the data this season, and the data still tells me that's the way to go. Arsenal do find a way to concede, but the data doesn't lie. They shut teams out pretty much at will. So I was just concerned that I saw Saliba and Timber both left at home. Little niggles that Arteta never tells you about, but you're quite confident that there's nothing in that.
Yeah. I'm fairly confident it's them being rested. They were, as far as I know, they were given the day off after the Man United game. I think to try and reflect and recharge.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think, again, a lot of them are being rested. Obviously, again, we've got a few European suspensions. I don't think Rice will play tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure Marino's also suspended for tomorrow too. So, again, they'll be rested.
And Calafiori back? or nearly back?
I'm not 100% sure whether I saw whether he was in training before the Champions League game. So again, probably wait till Friday's press conferences. I would expect if you're looking at him as a potential asset.
Just the knock on, I think, if you got a fully fit back six or whatever you got to choose from, I think just the knock on the rotation that could happen just worries me more than actually picking Calafiori himself.
I mean, you are picking 3 out of the 6.
Exactly.
So.
You got to get the right ones.
Well, I'm actually thinking going Raya and then 2 Gabriel and probably Saliba just for security of minutes. Really, with that double header, if that happens in 26, which by the way hasn't been confirmed by the Premier League, they haven't given up a provisional date for that. It's all conjecture at the moment, so let's wait and see first. But I guess we're building the wildcard team now, Darren. We've got to assume that 26 is a double for Arsenal.
Yeah, I think that the decisions I've made around my Arsenal assets were decisions I was going to make anyway. It's just a bonus that game week 26 could potentially be a double up. It makes the potential use of a triple captain or a bench boost more viable as well. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but it makes the most sense if they're going to put that fixture anywhere to bring it forward, because I don't really know where else you can put it, because if Arsenal progress in the EFL Cup and then they're going into the latter stages of the Champions League and the FA Cup, then where else can you really put that fixture?
Just on the complexities of it, if Man City get to the final as well, their fixture can't be brought forward because their 31 opponents are Palace, and
right.
Game week 26 is when we play that European qualifier.
Right. Yeah,
so
makes sense.
It can't be moved. The Arsenal game can, because obviously Wolves aren't in Europe. Arsenal have already qualified, so there's no qualifying for the next stages for them. But unfortunately, we will be still qualifying for the next stages, so the City game can't be moved forward.
I guess we could try and do like a little prediction and get some exclusive breaking news of where that City Palace double might go. So when does your European kind of schedule hold?
Well, I think the week they've earmarked for that is 33. It's put back to 33. But if Newcastle turn that tie around, then potentially the Newcastle game can be moved into. So it's not a guarantee. It's just really dependent. I mean, Arsenal's team might lose that game, and it's Chelsea's game that gets moved. So if you're building the wild card as well, you want triple Chelsea to cover the 26 potential as well. So there's loads of things to think about.
Yeah, it's true. Let's cover off some of United's top assets then. We spoke about them a little bit at the beginning of the show, but we've got some raw data for you to look at here now as well. Eagle Eye will notice that Dorgu isn't on that graphic. It was a late swap out with the news.
Injured in the warm-up.
Yeah, exactly. That he's going to be out for at least the next 10 weeks. So a little Photoshop jiggery pokery. I think you've done a pretty decent job there, Paolo. You've chopped the top of his head off, but
give him a crew cut. Look at that.
Yeah, we'll give you it. It was a late change. It was a late change.
What do you want?
Yeah. Thanks again to Fantasy Football Edits for providing the data and the background and graphics, of course, as well. But yeah, let's dig into it. Bruno Fernandes, Brian Mbeumo, Matthias Cunha, and Lisandro Martinez. We've highlighted those 4 players specifically for the number of points that they've earned between game weeks 18 and 23. And I guess the standout stat really is Fernandez's XG over those 5 game weeks as well was 1.95, but didn't score in those 5 games. So is there a brace coming, maybe even a Fernandes hat trick on the horizon to aggregate that data?
If you're building a wildcard team or making transfers, he surely has to be the name that comes in. Has to be.
He would be my first thoughts if I was thinking. The only problematic thing with him is obviously the price of him. and you have to have similar priced assets really to move to him. But yeah, he definitely would be top of mind because I think he's just the most consistent out of all of them, and he's the most guaranteed minutes, goal involvements, the full shebang, takes all the set pieces. So I think he's the one, if you are wild carding, that I would have first front of mind if I was selecting Man United players.
He was even refereeing that Arsenal game. You see him chasing the ref. I mean, he was like he was on overdrive though. He was ridiculous. He should have been booked for all his whinging and that. But I'd have been fuming if he'd have booked him for moaning. Yeah. I was only on 30 points at the time anyway.
Obviously, Brian Mbeumo come back from AFCON and kind of picked up really where he left off, finding his form, scoring 2 goals in those 2 games that he's started since being back. So again, I think a really valuable option, especially if he's going to continue to play a little bit further forward for United. So again, 14.7% ownership still makes him kind of a differential really in FPL sense. So again, something I wouldn't kind of avoid. I'd definitely an alternate option really if you can't get up to Fernandes price wise.
And particularly with Mbeumo filling that number 9 spot, if that's going to be a consistent thing as well, you've essentially got an £8.3 million midfielder that's playing up front. So there's the potential for points hauls there is massive, especially in comparison to Cunha at 8 million, who is playing more of a midfield role. But surprisingly, Cunha's ownership even further below Mbeumo. Perhaps it is that kind of number 9 role that is pushing more people towards Mbeumo than Cunha.
Well, as we said before, if Cunha's going to play that left side role now in Dorgu's absence, which you expect him to do, then he's a good pickup as well. I mean, on my wildcard build, I'm looking at 2 of these. I've got Mbeumo and Fernandes at the moment. I've also looked at Ahmad. He's playing some good minutes since he's returned, 90 and I think 88 minutes he's played, and he's only 6.2 million. So he's another option in that front line. But I like the Martinez pick as well.
Yeah, for me, I know we spoke previously, Scott, about do you chuck Harry Maguire in there because Carrick seems to like him. Obviously, since he's come in, he's started both games. But yeah, obviously for me, Martinez started all the last 6, so he's guaranteed minutes now. Again, starting to find his form from what we know of Martinez. He's never going to be much of a goal threat down the other end, but DEFCON, etc. Could we start seeing some of that?
That's why I like the Maguire pick, because he is a goal threat. He's always going to come up with a last minute massive forehead pile driving bullet header, and he's only 4.3. Maguire. He's currently in my current setup.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, especially if you've already got Dorgu, or if you had Dorgu, or you were looking at Dorgu in the wild card. It makes it's kind of an easy swap over.
Yeah,
I do think that makes sense. The only reason I didn't put him in this graphic because I wasn't sure he was going to continue playing in the.
You couldn't fit his massive head in the slide, could you?
Well, I was going to say you already chopped half of Martinez off.
Couldn't get his massive forehead on the screen.
Maguire would have just been lit. Yeah. Would have just been that.
Yeah.
I wanted to shout out another player for you because I will give you reasons why. Because when I was building the wildcard team earlier today, I was like the old me was very much trying to take charge, and my finger was hovering over Kobbie Mainoo over Bruno Fernandes, and I was then going to put that £5 million elsewhere into the squad. 2 starts, 1 assist. Looks like Fernandes is getting the freedom because someone like Mainoo and Casemiro is giving him that freedom to do so. But we know that Mainoo's got an assist or a mazy run and a goal in him, or certainly did do sort of, around that run into the Euros with England. He looked a very more kind of
his
attacking.
assist was one of those little 3-yard to the side, and Cunha
Don't matter.
did the rest.
Don't matter. It's three FPL points, mate. I'm not talking about putting him in front of Thomas Tuchel and going, hey, this kid's special. I'm talking from a FPL perspective purely.
I think Di Maria is a fantastic player, but he's never one that's gonna get you many returns. He doesn't put himself in those positions often enough. No. Casemiro, on the other hand, if you want to go someone cheaper, he is that goal threat, so he could work.
Just because again he gets up for corners, he's a set piece threat. Especially, So if you're looking at getting right in the budget end of the Man United midfield, then Casemiro probably would be I think a better pick over Mainoo.
All right. Well, you'll be pleased to know that common sense did prevail this morning. Fernandez has made the cut, but I was very tempted. I was very tempted to turn up this evening and reveal my team, and Kobbie Mainoo was sat there for you all to kind of pick apart.
Well, what Bruno Fernandes offers for me is with Haaland's drop off in form, as we've highlighted, he offers that captain alternative as well.
That's a very good point.
Because it is solid consistency. He is a solid captain shout every week, so that's a good reason to have him in.
Yeah. Fulham in the next game week, as you rightly mentioned earlier, Paul. Predictions? Fulham are no pushovers at the moment. They're on a good bit of form. Harry Wilson banging in 30-yard screamers.
Yeah, I think it'd be a real tough test because, they will kind of, I guess, try and measure their attacking output, unlike City. And so they won't leave as many gaps, I don't think, in between for Bruno Fernandes to wander into. So it'll be, an interesting tactical, I guess, battle to see, how much they've truly stepped on under Carrick.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Right. Let's get into team reveals for game week 24 then, and we'll just have a little chat about our selections. Scott's wildcard active. You've mentioned a few times now your despair over the last 6 game weeks, and the global rank shows it, my friend. 6,635k. You're always the person that I look to that's way up there in the sort of top 30, top 20Ks. And I know that was your target again for this season. So those last 6 weeks really kind of hurting your overall global rank.
Tripled my rank.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Wildcard active. Talk us through some of your changes and reasons behind them. I see Dorgu is very unlikely to make it into game week 24, I suspect. As you've rightly mentioned, triple Arsenal. You've got double Man U defense, captaincy on Fernandes, despite Haaland playing Spurs. Double Villa. You're loading up. You're loading up on that sort of top 2, top 3, top 4 teams in the Premier League and kind of going for it, I guess.
Well, it's that swing we mentioned, isn't it? United, Villa, Chelsea, Bournemouth. This isn't settled. This is my first instinct at it, my first stab at it. I've retained Haaland, Rodgers, and Gabriel from previous teams. I've got rid of the most annoying Liverpool duo, although Van Dijk returned his customary goal. Once he got the goal, he was out of the team. That was the contract I had with him. I had to wait 19 weeks for it to come. Yeah. The Watkins position is the only one I'm debating. He's expensive. I could probably cover it with Rodgers anyway. If I downgrade him to an Evan Nilsson, it frees up 1.8 mil, which can be spent elsewhere. That's my only decision. I've got double Wolves there in anticipation for the game week 26 double. Although it's not a fantastic double. I mean, one of them's Arsenal, so effectively it's one game, but you get appearance points. But you never know. Having Jose Sarr, he might pull off 12 saves and save a penalty. Who knows? He's worth having in there. It's not settled, but I think most of that team, Gabriel, Saliba, Rodgers, the midfield is pretty settled. Haaland, it's just one or two places now.
And you're set on Fernandes captain over Haaland.
Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Cool. Nice. You mentioned there about rolling transfers and covering the blank week in game week 31 and the double in game week 32.
Anyone's building a wildcard team this week has got to roll transfers into as far as you can take them, because there's going to be lots and lots of up in the air rounds 31, 32. Your free hit will come in to save one of those weeks, but there's going to be sort of 3 or 4 weeks where you're going to need transfers to take advantage of it. So yeah, if you're building a wildcard to take advantage of the fixture swing now, then please roll transfers because you'll be stuffed in game week 32.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's definitely going to be my tactic, was building the wildcard team now that I may need to make 1 or 2 changes going into game week sort of 26, 27, but 27 onwards, I'm being disciplined and going. I'm rolling all the way into game week 31. I need to go into game week 31 with at least 3 or 4 transfers in the back pocket to be able to cover those blanks, because I'm kind of thinking free hit 32 and taking advantage of the big double would be more worth my while.
Well, if results go in EFL like we think they're going to go, so Arsenal, Chelsea, Arsenal progress, and City in the final. You got City, Palace, Wolves, and Arsenal blanking in 31. So if you're tripling up on Arsenal now, I've got double Wolves. I was thinking about sticking Munoz in there. I've got Haaland. That's already 6 or 7 players that aren't going to play in 31. So already you're looking at 4 transfers just to get an 11 out. So just have that in the back of your mind. Who you pick now is going to determine what happens in your transfers moving forward. And you're also running into injuries and out of forms and suspensions and all that. So, be really careful.
Yeah. No, great advice. Paolo.
Yes.
No wild card for you.
No.
Just a couple of changes here. Plans to drop Ekatike and Raul and bringing in Pedro and Evan Nilsson.
Wow.
Captaincy on Pedro. Again, avoiding that Haaland perma captain, which is surprising, being that Spurs is their next one up. I know obviously started on the bench against Wolves and whatnot, but I don't know. Yeah, I think Haaland versus Spurs it's a nice captain pick, but I understand why people are avoiding it. Covered Chelsea, you've got Villa covered, Arsenal covered, Bournemouth defence and attack. Double Fulham on the bench currently, but again they're a nice informed team. Yeah, looks like it's still a pretty decent balanced squad. Your Semenyo pick is obviously from his Bournemouth days as well. You've kept with him for quite almost all of the season, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Stayed with him, and it's paid off so far in his City career, and I think he seems to have that starting berth currently nailed. Obviously, Pep will get incoming, no doubt. Again, I'm fairly happy with the balance of my team. I feel like I've fairly covered those fixture swings in already. I probably won't go. I don't like to go too deep for the fixture swings, purely because if they go against you, which they inevitably can in FPL, you've then got a lot of work to undo them. So I tend to go two players max when I do fixture swing teams. And Evan Nilsson's in good form. João Pedro again looks to have that spot nailed, and I just had to get rid of Ekatike. To be honest, he was causing me heart palpitations, and I thought it was a good chance to upgrade on Raul Jimenez, as again he's kind of not scored in the coming weeks. It seems like Wilson's taking up that mantle. So quietly happy with that. I think the only real thought process in my mind is who to captain and whether I potentially swap Van Hecker for Anderson. I think is probably the only thing tinkering wise that I'll do. Again, haven't made my transfers yet, so if you have any inputs that you would suggest otherwise, then feel free. And then for Man United again, I'll keep an eye on their form. If they blow Fulham away, then obviously there'll be a decision to make, because I think the only player that I could really downgrade to get to the likes of Fernandes would be Saka. And I could potentially get to the likes of Cunha from Semenyo. So, but that's my forward.
Definitely an interesting squad. There's a lot more like variety across your 11 than what Scott had. Obviously, you got 3 different teams represented across, front to back really. So or 4 or even 4 different teams represented in the midfield. So you got a nice good spread across all of the fixtures. I agree. I think you've covered Villa with Rodgers, much in the way that Scott said that he could quite happily drop Watkins and Rodgers would cover that. It looks good certainly for the fixtures for this week. You say your captaincy is not locked in because obviously you got plenty of options there. See West Ham beating Spurs. They do appear to be in much better form over the last 2 or 3 weeks than they have been previously. And you do have Evan Nelson against Wolves and Saka against Leeds. So any other thoughts on where your captaincy might go if it wasn't between those 3 players?
Again, obviously you can never rule out a boring Haaland captain. But I just feel that, again, Tottenham are very similar to Man United. They seem to get up for these big games, and I think they could give City a game. Not to say that they'll get anything from the game, but they could give them a game, and it could be a low-scoring game. So that's kind of what's putting me off going for Haaland, and the fact that his form's been a bit indifferent over previous weeks. I think the fixtures could open up nicer, more obvious options, I guess, would be.
Yeah, agreed. I guess because you're not wild carding, you're not prepared to take the points hit to get Dorgu out at the moment, so he'll just stick on your bench.
Don't feel like I need to. I'll just
bring him out as and when. Queens, and then for myself, wild card active. I've gone double Bournemouth defence to cover that Wolves fixture. Gabriel and Gueye, sort of the more solid defensive picks and will be the ones that kind of stick around a lot longer. Enzo, Fernandes and Rice across the middle. Haaland, Pedro and Watkins up top. Captaincy is on Haaland at the moment. Covering the Arsenal fixtures, the Chelsea fixtures, I've got Watkins for Villa. Fernandes is in there for the United swing. And I've very kind of preemptively put Kresic in on the bench to potentially cover that Wolves double. But much like yourself, Scott, when one of those games is against Arsenal, then bringing in a Wolves defender, you're kind of hoping for DEFCON and maybe get a little bit lucky with a clean sheet maybe, but Kresic also has the attacking potential as well.
Who's their other game in that week? Is it Forest?
I don't actually know, if I'm perfectly honest. I saw that Arsenal, it was Wolves and Brentford, but I don't know.
I think it is Forest. So you get one good game and then one where you're just hoping really just for appearance points.
Yeah, which is fine because if he's going to play both those games, that's 4 points straight off the bat. So you take that.
Well, I'm thinking of a bench boost and having him on the bench, just taking advantage of it that way.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Depends how the players kind of work out around for me, but I'd be right now, if I was to do a bench boost, I'd be quite happy with Pickford, Kresic, Wilson and Minter on my bench. So it depends on how the fixtures work out in 26. If that's still the case, then I could probably consider the same. If that double does work out, I'm very tempted to use my triple captain on Gabriel. I I think there's potential there for double clean sheet, if not at least one clean sheet.
Yep.
And that, as you say, like Gabriel's always got the opportunity to score from corners as well.
Triple Arsenal defence.
Is that you effectively covering like a triple captaincy as well?
Well, if you think could Arsenal in that double surely keep 2 cleans?
I'd like to think so. Like Brentford, but then Igor Thiago on the form that he's on with Brentford right now, you can. I don't think that's less guaranteed. I think that Brentford fixture.
Well, nothing's guaranteed, but I think you stand a hell of a chance.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, Hill and Trufair for me in the Wolves fixture coming up. But
I like those picks, Darren.
One of those will make way at some point.
Yeah, James Hill's a great pick. 3.9 mil. He's hit DEFCON for 4 of the last 5 games. He's averaging 12 DEFCONs per game, so he's hitting that average per game currently. And yeah, he's got that starting berth at the moment. So yeah, I think 3.9 is really good.
I'm going to nod and pretend like I knew all of that information up front, and I didn't just pick the cheap. Right? Yeah, I'm just going to go with that. And it wasn't the fact that he was 3.8 million.
Is there any concern because Diakante's been away at AFCON? Any concern that he comes back and just takes Hill's spot of him?
I mean, with all the AFCON players that have come back, there's always that concern of course. If that is the case, then I mean, a 3.8 million pound bench rider is no bad thing, right? It's given me budget to put it into other areas of the team. You know, someone like I might reorganize my bench and have like Wilson as first sub maybe, or Minte as first sub. So if that does happen and the double up to get that potential double clean sheet against Wolves doesn't work out how I want it to, then I'm confident that someone like Wilson or Minte can come in and score some decent points.
I like your team overall. Very good.
Great. Yeah. Great.
Well,
2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks. Wow. Well balanced. 2 weeks in a row. I'm
and look at him going Haaland captain and me and you not.
I have to be honest, I was very tempted with Pedro against West Ham, but then that West Ham result against Spurs and the week before, I think they looked pretty decent as well. I feel like the performance is turning a little bit for...
I think that's why I'm quite tempted by Chelsea, is because West Ham will come out and try and attack.
They'll think they have the confidence.
And I think that, well, I just think that's their style, isn't it? They haven't got a good enough defence to just sit back and let Chelsea press on them. So I think they will try and give it a go, which I think could be to Chelsea's gain.
Yeah.
That's my gut feel anyway.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I am very, like I say, I've written there in the comments that I'm 50-50 on Haaland and Pedro. I think Tottenham are shite and Haaland's had his rest. He's had his ice bath. He's been stuck in the charging dock for the last week. Yeah, he's ready to go. I was going to say earlier, actually, smart move by Arteta to actually rest some key players in games that they don't need to play in. You wouldn't have seen Arteta playing Haaland versus Exeter in a 10-0 win.
Makes no sense, is it, doing things like that, and then coming out 2 weeks later and he's tired.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, boys. Well, that's us. I think we'll wrap it up there and leave everybody to kind of make their own decisions based on the information we've been able to give them over the last 90 minutes. Or although I imagine in the edit I'll try and cut it down a little bit. But it's been exactly. But it's been a pleasure chatting with you both once again. I would love to try and make it more consistently, but commitments outside of the moment are pulling me away. So well, I'll always try and make it as and when I can do. If you've made it this far into the episode, please do drop a like, hit subscribe, share it around, drop some comments in below as well. Who are you captaining this week? Are you wildcarding? Let's have a conversation. Everything helps the algorithm and the channel doesn't grow without you. So we really, really appreciate it. Boys, thanks. And we will catch up real soon.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.